feature flick with me. Famous scenes with drama queens and heroes acted out there on the silver screen. Come grab a seat, the popcorn is on me.
Hello, welcome to Meet Me at the Movies. I am Noel T. Manning II. I am the sequel, the trilogy, Thomas Manning, right here. Hollywood Manning right there beside us. Good to see you, man. Welcome.
Disappointing third installment in the trilogy. Yeah, that's me. Happy to be here as always.
Yeah. Greg Tillman back there kind of agrees, feels the same way, don't you?
Yeah, well, you know, he's your son. I'm not going to badmouth him.
You're not going to badmouth him?
At least on camera.
At least on camera.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I appreciate that. We appreciate it. Well, we're glad to be back here in the studios. I think Greg said it's been since November that we've actually had a studio appearance.
You could ask the audience if they've missed you, but I don't know if you want to know the answer.
No, we do know. Well, we've been here, so we shouldn't really ask if they missed us or not because we actually have been here, right, Thomas?
Yeah, we've done some Zoom audio
Yeah.
stuff and Zoom video as well. So
That's right.
yeah, we've been.
Yes, Zoom was designed to see your faces, so they were zooming in. Yeah,
That's
so
true. That's true.
We've done both, but we're glad to be back here in the studio, and hopefully we can keep this track record going at least twice. And since Tom Brady's out of the playoffs, that's the reason that we're coming back in.
Listen, yeah, that's the real beauty of everything right now.
That's exactly
So, yeah.
right. Everything. It's a happy day because we know that things are going to be different this go round.
Grass is greener, the sky is a little bit bluer. It's just everything is. I can breathe a little bit better.
That's exactly right. Well, we've got some movies to talk about. Also, interview with Andrew Garfield later in the show. We're really happy to talk with him. And I got to say, pretty amazing. The Spider-Man film is like the #6 film of all time now, and it is just continuing to do incredibly well at the box office. So really glad to see it. One of my favorite superhero films of all time. Any just quick notes you want to make sure you mention about that?
Yeah, I think my love for Spider-Man No Way Home was very well documented. I've seen it 3 times now, and I'm very stoked when it comes to VOD and physical media. But it's just one of the most ambitious crossover events. And you say that with Marvel like pretty much every year at this point, and they just keep finding a way to raise the bar. And what they do with multiple universes of Sony Spider-Man, bringing it into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it's phenomenal.
It really is. And Mr. Tillman actually enjoyed this as well, didn't you, man?
Oh yeah. Dark Knight's probably still at the top of the pile for me, but it may be a close second actually.
Yeah. Well, so Dark Knight and the Spider-Man. Top 2 for Mr. Tillman. Well, let's talk about a film that is part of a franchise. It's a prequel. It's The King's Man. And if you are into stylistic violence and alternative history, this may be the type of film you would be diving into. Let's get your thoughts on this, Thomas.
Yeah. So this is directed by Matthew Vaughn. He directed the other 2 Kingsman movies. He also directed Layer Cake with Daniel Craig, which was probably the role that got Daniel Craig and propelled him into the James Bond role. And also Matthew Vaughn directed X-Men First Class, which we were just talking about the other day. So you mentioned the action and the stylistic violence, and that's the first thing you notice with this movie and with this franchise. It's choreographed and directed, and just the way it's imagined visually is much more creative than pretty much 90% of blockbusters you see today.
Yeah.
A lot of blockbusters, the action is poorly edited and the camera work is very shaky, and you just can't really get a coherent grasp on the emotional stakes of everything. But with the Kingsman movies, the way the camera is moved around the action and the way the stunt performances are, you're fully engrossed and fully enthralled in the weight of the moment.
I will say that with the Kingsman films, each shot matters. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. Yeah, and you mentioned the shots and cinematography here. So Ben Davis is the director of photography here. He's had a pretty busy year. He was director of photography on Clint Eastwood's Cry Macho last year.
Macho! Macho? Oh, sorry. I thought you were asking me to cry. Macho.
Yeah. That's fine. Well, we're going to roll with that. yeah. But Ben Davis was also the DP on Chloe Zhao's The Eternals Marvel film. So, busy year for him. And so this definitely has a lot of distinctive visual flair to it in comparison to a lot of the blockbusters and action films today. So got to give props to Ben Davis for that. And then just as far as the character work here and the story and the narrative, it's really fascinating in the sense that you think this character over here is going to be the focus of the story, but then something happens and you realize that that character was only meant as you know, service for the foundational development of this other character over here, or for this big plot development over here. And they pull this at least a few times where you think you're going to see everything through the eyes of someone over here, or through the eyes of this situation, and then they just completely shift focus, and the narrative goes off in a completely different trajectory. And you know, whoever you think the story is about, or whatever you think it's about, nothing is safe. I just like seeing, you know, things that keep me on my toes, and it's definitely not formulaic. So.
And that's a difficult thing to do well, where you're talking about shifting the focus, where it doesn't feel jarring and feel completely out of place, but it really, really worked for you in this.
And everything definitely has that tongue-in-cheek feel that we've gotten to know from the Kingsman franchise, but it's also balanced with some really deep sincerity. There's a lot of raw emotion, just really interesting character decisions. Just like I said, because no one is safe. And the cast and performances are phenomenal. Ray Fiennes, he's the character I'll say who has the most screen time, and he's all in. Also, Jimon Hansu, he's just one of our generation's finest actors.
He really is.
I love him on anything. I'm just completely entranced anytime he's on screen. And
he can play anything.
He really can. He can do action, drama, comedy. He can do it all. And then also Rhys Ifans in this as Rasputin. It is just an unhinged, wild, over-the-top performance, and I couldn't look away whenever he was on screen. But you know, this movie, you know, in the midst of all that, also explores the theme of pacifism and pacifism's importance, and also potential limits.
Interesting.
Just quite pleased overall with what I saw from the Kingsman. Pleasantly surprised because I'd gone into it hearing some lukewarm reactions, lukewarm reviews, but I was quite pleasantly surprised.
Well, and you enjoyed the other ones as well, and it's a movie we've been waiting for a little while. It was delayed a few times because of the pandemic, so we're happy that we finally get a chance to see it on the big screen. What is your rating or final thoughts you want to make sure you share about the Kingsman?
Kingsman, I'm going to give it a solid B, and I'll definitely watch it again. It's coming to Hulu on February 1st, Hulu in the U.S., and it's currently in some limited theaters. But you mentioned one we've been waiting on for a while. I think we saw the first trailer back in 2019, so here we are, beginning of 2022, finally.
It really is bizarre this time, seeing these films that we've been hearing about and seeing pieces of for years. And now we're finally getting a chance to check them out. I want to talk about a film called Come On, Come On. Joaquin Phoenix, we know, Oscar winner, a multi-award winning actor who comes from a family of acting talent. His brother River died way too soon, and River was one of those that so many said had the potential to become a multi-Oscar winner, and it's great to see that his brother is kind of following in that. There's a Mike Mills film called Come On, Come On, that is a fish out of water family story. You can actually find this video on demand now. This comes from A24.
That's right.
And it's at the core of this film, and it's a black and white film, and we've seen a lot of black and white films that we've talked about, and there's just something simply beautiful about a black and white film that's done well, that allows you to dive into the characters more at times, and also dive into the setting, the cinematography. But this film looks at parenthood, it looks at joy, it looks at personal loss, it also looks at the imperfections that we all have on our journey called life. I really think other things that thematically I came across from with Come On, Come On is that life is messy, but it doesn't mean we should not engage and embrace the chaos. That's kind of part of what it is. Because of that chaos, and if we take the time to embrace it and accept it, we can discover deeper understandings about who we are, and also deeper understandings of others. And I love a film that can make you think not just about the characters that you're seeing, but also who you are. And this film does that, and does it very well. It will make you think about relationships of your own as it unfolds.
Yeah, so I haven't had a chance to see Come On, Come On in full yet. I have seen bits and pieces, and I've listened to the score for it, and I actually had the opportunity to sit in on a Q&A with Mike Mills, the director of the film, and ask him a question about the score, because the score is composed by the National, the Bryce and Aaron Dessner. They're great musicians who've collaborated with like Taylor Swift before. So of course I had to ask a question about, I had to fit in a question about the National in there.
And they also did Cyrano.
They did do Cyrano.
Yes.
That's correct. It was not the Weekend.
Not the Weekend.
It was the National. Yeah. But Mike had some really interesting things to say about the collaborative process with the Dessner brothers, how basically their, the sound of the movie was like, and the sound of their music was the sound of the relationship between Joaquin Phoenix's character and Woody Norman's character.
Yes.
This nephew and this uncle, and just hearing someone talk about the importance of score and the importance of just atmospheric sound.
Right.
And I don't think all directors quite understand and appreciate. They all do to a certain extent try to do something with it, but not all directors can have a really great grasp on, just the significance of music to character, and character to music.
And I think you nailed something as well when you're talking about the importance of utilizing music within sound and sound mixing and atmospheric, finding a way to combine those. And we've seen composers now over the years who have created music that in many ways becomes sound effects that you would see sound effects artists, Foley artists do, but you're now seeing composers doing that intentionally, and it really does work. This movie, I really did appreciate it, and I think if you are looking for a relationship drama, this may be one to take your time to. It's a B rating for me on this. Final thoughts, questions, or thoughts?
Yeah, so based on what I have seen, I've seen certain scenes from the movie. Joaquin's performance very subdued, and I would say, based on what I've seen, I actually prefer this performance of his to the performance in Joker, which won him his Academy Award. They're completely different films, but when you're just looking at them as a Joaquin Phoenix movie, this is the type of Joaquin Phoenix movie I prefer.
I'm right there with you. This, you and I both were not huge fans of the Joker. He did an amazing performance, but the film itself had some issues. I had some issues with the film itself, but he was fine in it. But this felt grounded in reality, and that really did work for me. The movie is Come On, Come On. You can now find that video on demand wherever you decide to choose that and do that. We are going to be taking a quick intermission right here on Meet Me at the Movies. I'm Noel T. Manning II, back there on Mission Control. Mr. Greg Tillman, any thoughts you want to check out? Come On, Come On. Are you looking for a family?
I like Joaquin Phoenix. I love black and white.
Yeah.
Where can we find this film?
Anywhere.
Theatrical?
It was theatrical.
I know Kingsman is.
But now it was theatrical, but now it's on video on demand.
Okay.
So yeah, we had a theatrical release during award season, but now you can find it VOD anywhere. So if you do Google, Apple, pretty much anywhere that you want to purchase your VODs, you can do that. We're going to take a quick intermission. We're going to come back. We're going to have Andrew Garfield interview I had a little bit earlier. We're going to share that with you, and then Thomas is going to review Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes, interesting foreign language international time travel piece. Stick around.
Another day, come on, come on, with these ropes tied, can we do no wrong? Now we grieve, 'cause now it's gone. Things were good when we were young. With my teeth back down, I can see the blood of 1,000 men who have come and gone. Now we grieve, 'cause now it's gone. Things were good when we were young. Is it safe to say, come on, come on?
Fact: COVID-19 vaccines are safe and effective. Millions of doses have already been given in the United States, and these vaccines have the most intensive safety monitoring in U.S. history. If you have questions, get answers from a reliable source, cdc.gov.
Hi, I'm Megan Pope. your host of Woman to Woman, a show about women for women. Each month, we feature guests that highlight topics that focus on self-care, health, and well-being, and a variety of other topics for women young and well-seasoned here in Cleveland County. So join me right here on Woman to Woman on C19 TV and C19.tv, a broadcast service of Cleveland Community College.
Won't you come and meet me at the movies? Won't you come and watch?
Hi, and welcome back into Meet Me at the Movies. We're happy to say that Noel recently had the opportunity to interview Andrew Garfield about Tick, Tick, Boom, and Andrew definitely has a shot to be nominated for an Academy Award for this film. Incredible performance, and Noel was very excited to be able to take part in that quick conversation with him. So I hope you guys enjoy. Here it is.
Hello, Andrew. Good to see you, man. Andrew Garfield, man. So good to have you here with us on Meet Me at the Movies. Truly appreciate it, man.
Nice to see you, Noel. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, wow, man. What a crazy, awesome year for you. Looking at you hanging out as Jim Baker and then Tick, Tick, Boom. And you're seeing you take on these true life roles and maybe some other roles that you'll be able to crawl around in later in the year. We'll have to wait and see on that.
Spider-Man does whatever a spider can. Spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
But I wanted to ask you how your real life approach to artistic pursuits is different or similar to John in Tick, Tick, Boom.
Oh yeah, it's a great question. It was something that, I thought about a lot in the preparation of the character and in playing, because, he is the kind of the farthest extreme of like a kind of religious monk-like devotion to one's dream and to one's creativity, almost as if he's being kind of governed by the theater muses, and that he doesn't get to sleep at night because he's being haunted by the songs that he's being tasked with to sing, and the stories that he's been tasked with to tell, and the heartbreak of the world that he can feel all too deeply. It is as if he has this kind of, genius calling that's always calling to him to write, to sing, to play. And I think any one of us can feel an identification with that. I think we all have this thing that calls to us, whether it's to be a writer, an actor, a reporter, or an interviewer, or a chef, or whatever it is. We feel there's something always tugging at us, and I think that's one of the things that is making people connect with this story, because it's universal. Like we all have that thread. So for me, I feel a real kinship with John in terms of this feeling haunted by one's calling and devotion.
Wow.
Because I do believe that there's no better way for me to spend my time than making stories, telling stories that unite people, telling stories that inspire, that awaken, that illuminate, that can create and induce passion or a remembrance of, in particular this film. I think it can induce people's remembering their own primary dreams, whether they're living them or not. And I think that's when something transcends making a film and it becomes impactful in someone's life. That's what really excites me.
Well, when I think about you talking about these connections and how you feel this connection, was there anything that, now that you've had a chance to walk back, take a look at that final cut, is there anything that this role taught you about yourself, either the character or your interpretation of the character?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely showed me that I want to spend my time this way. Like John discovers, there's no other way I want to spend my time. But it also showed me that I want to be able to have as much ordinary life as possible, so that I can carry on going back into my artistic work with a full cup. And obviously the thing that John struggles with is, somewhere deep down for me, he knew that he didn't have a lot of time on this earth. He knew he was going to pass away young. That's an unconscious thing. I don't think it's a conscious thing, but the fact that he did die at the age of 35 of a aortic aneurysm on the eve of the first preview of Rent off Broadway is a kind of synchronicity that can't be ignored.
Yeah.
And the fact that he wrote this musical called Tick, Tick, Boom, where he was afraid that his heart was going to explode, can't be ignored. For me, playing the character anyway, and actually it adds a layer of profundity, this idea that he knew, and even in the breakup with his girlfriend that he loves so deeply and that he wants to have children with and that he wants to have a family with, there's some strange unconscious protection of her, in the sense of like, I don't want to leave you a widow, I don't want to leave you a single mother of our children. I think that unconsciously is being played out underneath all of his reasons for focusing on his work and having to set this person that he loves free.
Yeah. Well, my dad was a musician, a writer, and a visual artist, and at times his search for creative expression tortured him. And he passed away this past year. And I just want to tell you that this film really spoke to me, and your interpretation of this character spoke to me as well. So I just want to thank you for that.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry for your loss, and I know that experience, and yeah, I'm sending you my love in that way.
Thanks, Andrew Garfield. Thanks for joining us right here on Meet Me at the Movies.
Thanks, Noel. Appreciate it.
Appreciate you, buddy.
Take good
Thank
care.
you, Noel.
You too. Thank you.
That was Andrew Garfield speaking to our very own Noel Manning about Tick, Tick, Boom. And Noel, I know that that was conversation you've been hoping to have for a long time. You finally got a chance for it. So tell me, walk me through it a little bit.
It was such a nice guy. That was the thing that came across. And also really appreciated that he actively listened to the questions, and he was really deep and thoughtful. I'm sure that everybody felt that way as they saw this interview. He was just engaging, and I really did appreciate the time he took. Anytime I get a chance to talk to filmmakers, whether they're cinematographers or screenwriters or composers or acting talent, but there are some that once you step back from, I think you realize how much they appreciate it as well. And he does hundreds of these kind of junkets and interviews, but the fact that he cares and it came across, I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I feel like you probably could have just asked him something as simple as what's your favorite color, and he still would have given you the best answer that anybody's ever given to that
Exactly.
question. So,
yeah, he would. You would feel like, man, that was awesome. You nailed that. You nailed that answer. So Mr. Tillman, Garfield, do you appreciate what he does as far as acting talent?
Oh, I think he's a really terrific actor. What was the Korean War film he was in 2 or 3 years ago?
Well, he was in Hacksaw Ridge,
That's it. That
which
was, is that World War II?
brilliant.
Yeah, he was very good in that.
Yeah.
I think he's a little underrated, actually. I like him a lot.
Yeah, I agree. Underrated. I mean, this year, he had some great roles with Eyes of Tammy Faye, and then of course seeing him and maybe some other things as well. But yeah, Tick, Tick, Boom is one Thomas and I both truly did appreciate. Well, Thomas, there's a time travel film that we're going to talk about that crosses universes, and this is a foreign language film as well. And you got a chance to see this as part of a festival circuit.
Well, yeah, this was actually originally premiered at the Fantasia Film Fest back in the autumn of 2021, and now it is getting a VOD release. And this is a Japanese production, and it was actually made by a theater troupe in Japan. And and they basically shot, directed and produced the whole thing like in their hometown. And it's extremely low budget indie filmmaking, but it's like it is low budget indie filmmaking, high concept.
Yes.
At its finest.
Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes is what it's called.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that first. But
all right.
Thank you for covering me there. Yeah. So there have been many films that explore the concept of time travel, and they cross genres. You got action, adventure, you have thriller, you have some horror, you got drama.
Hot Tub Time Machine, got comedy.
Yeah. So this one is definitely more in the vein of comedy. I would say it's more of a dramedy than a pure comedy like Hot Tub Time Machine, but it's definitely something that I found myself laughing a lot. But it still has its fair share of thrilling and dramatic moments. And it's a film that there's a quote from this movie that I think sums up its thesis, and it's we shouldn't know the future. Basically, the dangers of thinking you have an understanding of what the future is going to hold, and then trying to craft your life, trying to craft your decisions around what you think the future should be, and how it's basically cautionary warning against trying to control everything because
Right.
you think you know where it's going. It's, you know, live more in the moment.
Yeah.
Appreciate more where you are right now, and appreciate the people you're with, and appreciate the emotions that you're feeling, rather than trying to, you know, mathematically, you know, precisely just calculate everything around, you know, every decision you make.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because when you talk to people truly about, would you like to know what your future holds? Many times people are like, yeah, I want to know, you know, where am I going to be 3 years from now? Where am I going to be in the next 6 months? Where am I going to be in the next 2 minutes? You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
What, you know, because that way that'll help me plan and think and know what to do. But sometimes knowing that future, you may not, be appreciative of some of those things that you know. I mean, if you, in 6 months from now, if you find out that your parents are going to die, is that a future you want to know right now? Maybe yes, because you could maybe change the way you interact with them, but also talk about living with that grief of knowing it's coming. So yeah, good thoughts.
Yeah, and so the screenplay is written by Makoto Ueda, and it's directed by Junta Yamaguchi, and he was also the director and the cinematographer, and just the way the shots are choreographed and blocked. They're theater actors, so they understand. Of course, they understand going and delivering their lines just rapid fire, but also hitting their marks and timing everything perfectly. And doing that with the camera is a whole other story, and they translate over from like their theater performances into cinematic performances very well. And there were maybe like only 4 or 5 just like hard cuts in this movie, and the rest of it just looks like you're watching a single take.
Wow.
And it's a time travel movie, but the catch is there's only 2 minutes between the forward and the past that you can go to.
Wow.
2 minutes into the future and past. That's
Right.
the correct term for that.
Yeah, got you. Understood. Understood what you're saying.
But then they kind of try to find ways to manipulate that. Are there more than 2 minutes we can go ahead, or more than 2 minutes we can go back? And just the way that plays into the character dynamics is very, very fascinating. And the main character of Kato, it's anchored by this really just beautifully subtle and grounded performance. And the emotional arc is crafted around him. The emotional arc of the entire narrative is crafted around him. And a lot of times he's just kind of passively sitting in the background observing everything, while all of this other stuff is going on around him. And we almost felt like, I feel like he was almost standing for the audience in some
Yeah.
aspects. So.
Well, it's a film that's hard to find,
Yeah.
but you can see it on the festival circuit right now. And but check out the trailer for it if you get a chance. It's called Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. Anywhere else people can maybe look for this? I know Vimeo. I was looking and I found that they've got a site specifically on Vimeo as well.
Oh yeah, I think that's mostly where you're going to find it for right now.
Okay, cool. What's your rating for Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes?
I'm going to give a solid B+ to Beyond
Okay.
the Infinite 2 Minutes.
B+ rating for Beyond the Infinite 2 Minutes. I do love time travel films. I always have. Always been drawn to them for some reason, and I try to check out all of them, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Movie quote of the week, to wrap things up. We are about out of time right here. This comes from Come On, Come On, and I really like this quote. Kids tend to think more freely. Adults, when they think in a very tight space. Any final thoughts or comments before we wrap up? Mr.
Life moves by pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you might miss it.
Absolutely. Greg Tillman, thanks for spending time with us right here and keeping us in line in Target.
Like I had a choice, I had to be here.
No choice. Yeah, exactly. And you probably ought to water that plant back there behind you. It's looking pretty nasty, man.
It's the only kind of plant that I can cohabit with. It's fake.
It's a fake plant. Okay, well, there you go. Water it anyway. It'll be happy. Thanks for joining us right here on Meet Me at the Movies. We really appreciate you. And next week we're going to be talking about Moonfall. And hopefully we'll be able to talk about the book of Boba Fett. So till next time, for Meet Me at the Movies, I'm Noel Thomas, the second for Thomas Manning and Greg Tillman and all the cast and crew. That's a wrap.